Okay. Hey, I have a video I want to show you, but it's you're going to have mixed feelings when you see it, and it's a little bit choppy. Don't show it yet. It's a little bit choppy because we edited some curse words out of it. Okay? I hope Jeff Adams was supposed to edit the curse words out of it. So he's my staff parish chair, so it's, but I think it's going to, I don't know, it's going to produce a lot of emotion in you, and it's meant to, so I hope you will, if it's a little bit choppy, just don't worry about the choppiness, just listen to the drama, and it's a real story. Here we go.
You're an atheist.
Can you turn it up, please?
Great, Michael. All right, you know what? We need to start going to church every week. I've had it with us.
I don't believe in God.
You got yourself confirmed, and you said to the bishop.
Yeah, a lot can happen. You can think.
Oh, a lot can happen. All of a sudden, you can just quit believing in God?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there is no God.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. You want to know there's no God? Then you're going to get absolutely nothing. Nothing for Christmas, because that's what Christmas is about, is Jesus Christ.
Okay.
No, it's not okay, Michael. It is not okay. You have...
So they showed us this video at annual conference. So in the beginning, I don't know if you heard it, but it says Michael comes out with the fact that he's now an atheist. He's an atheist, and this is Mom's reaction to that. And I don't know, gosh, I have all sorts of feelings about that video. It's sad that he's an atheist, and it's also sad that his example of what Christianity is his mom, But plus, I also resonate with the mom because she wants her son to believe, right? She wants him to know right. So the video makes me cry, and you can see that real video without the choppiness on YouTube. I'll put it on my Facebook, but it won't be edited. So watch it with your children, or don't let your children watch. But it's just like she doesn't. It's just like, yeah, we get that he doesn't get it, but it's like she doesn't get it either, and. We can't make our children love God. We can't make anybody love God. I want to read from Deuteronomy chapter 34. Madden got his Bible last week, and he's real excited to have it. And he said, "How many pages are in the Bible?" And I said, "Probably thousands, a couple thousand." And he said, "What page are we on at church?" and I said, "Well, I'm kind of all over the place." But Deuteronomy 34 is the close of the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible. It's the last chapter of what we used to call the books of Moses, or the books of the law. This is the last chapter. This is a spoiler alert. Moses dies. Okay, I don't know if you knew that, but I'm going to tell you that that's what happens. But this is about that. Okay, spoiler alert. Moses dies. Let's listen to it. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is opposite Jericho, and the Lord showed him the whole land. So remember, they've been wandering in the desert, and now they're about to enter the promised land, but before Moses enters in, he goes up, because Moses never enters in fact, but he goes up, and God shows him the vision of the promised land. And the Lord showed him the whole land, Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the Negeb and the plain, that is the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zoar. Now this is about 160 miles long, so I find it interesting that it says, "And the Lord showed Moses," because Moses had great eyes, we'll learn later, but it's hard to see 160 miles. So God was showing, it wasn't just that he was on the top of the mountain and he could see 160 miles, but God gave him that vision, because God wanted Moses to see of what his people were about to enter. The Lord said to him, "This is the land which I swore to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there." Then Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab at the Lord's command. He was buried in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, but no one knows his burial place to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His sight was unimpaired, and his vigor had not abated. The Israelites wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. Then the period of mourning for Moses was ended. Joshua, son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him, and the Israelites obeyed him, doing as the Lord had commanded Moses. Never since has there arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Everybody say that, whom the Lord knew face to face. Remember, we said that last week as well. He was unequaled for all the signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to perform in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all his servants and his entire land, and for all the mighty deeds and all the terrifying displays of powers that Moses performed in the sight of all Israel. How does that relate to the first video we saw? You get the sense that we often believe that belief means assent, like knowledge, like I believe God exists, like in my head. It's a mental assent. I believe that God really is, and that's what belief is. Or you get the sense that belief or faith is checking off the list of what we must do in order for God to love us. We get the sense that what religion is all about is for us to have a list of 10, 20, 30 commands, and we go down the list. But here it seems like there's a picture of something more, because I've always equated Moses with getting the law, but the people of Israel equate Moses with this face-to-face relationship. It's like Moses, Charlton Heston, with the 10 Commandments, we associate Moses with the law, but the people of Israel thought of Moses more than that. It was more than just the law. It was like bigger than the law. It was like a walking and living face-to-face relationship with the living God. And so it seems like religion is more than just this mental assent, like believing God exists. As we learned in Alpha the other night, even the demons believe that God exists. Faith must be something more than that. Belief must be something more. And as we look at the picture of Moses as he walks with God, and last week as he prayed with God and asked God to show his presence, you get the understanding that there's something really beautiful here. There is a relationship. It is intimate, and it has depth. And it has real meaning. It's more than just rules. It's more than just an acknowledgement that there's somebody up there. It's a living, breathing relationship. And then the lectionary text from the New Testament this week is found in Matthew 22. And it starts like this. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, Jesus, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? He said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So it seems like Jesus is emphasizing what I just said, or maybe I just emphasized what Jesus said, probably a better way to say it. But Jesus is also saying that it's, the 10 Commandments, all the Pentateuch and all the prophets afterwards, it all hinges on this thing called love. Not, in fact, rules, but love. That love is at the core of it all. That this relationship with the living God, that we should in fact fall head over heels in love with God. It's like, our heart, our mind, our soul, and our strength, all of us, our completion should be completely in love with God. Now, you can't make your kids go to church. Excuse me, I take that back. I do make my kids go to church. You can make your kids go to church. You can make them get confirmed. You can make them fear hell. You can make them be afraid of God's punishment. You can even make them fulfill the laws of God. I mean, if there's a checklist, you can make them do it. As long as they're under my roof, you can make them do it. But what you can't do is make them love God. But yet that's what Jesus just said is what everything hinges on. Everything hangs on this, loving God. Now that bothers me as a pastor because I can't even make you love God. But it's what God wants of us. I can't make you love God. Now, I can scare the hell out of you. I can talk about God's wrath and God's punishment and God's judgment. And I can, for some reason, you all put pastors higher than they should be, I believe. And so I have a lot of influence, and I could say, you need to do this, this, and this, and you'll probably do it. Some of you, and I love the ones that will. But you might do it and do it and do it, but it's still not going to make you love God. It'll make you follow the commands of God, but it won't make you have your heart infatuated, your heart swept over, your heart smitten with the love of God. I can't do that. I can't make it happen. And we've tried. There have been missionaries in represented whole countries, like Spain when they went over to Latin America and even to the Americas here, and they asked people to love God, and the native, the indigenous people, and so they did it, with swords, love God or else, and a lot of conversions happened that day, but did they really love God? They made them act as if they loved God, but they didn't really change their heart. And it's I don't know, I've never read this most famous passage of Jesus, the Great Commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Well, how do you do that? I mean, I think a lot of us can easily like God. He can be very likable. I think that we can love the idea of loving God. Like that. We can admire the relationship that Moses had with God. It's like, that seems really neat to us, to have that face-to-face love for God. And a loving God, we can love the idea of a loving God who wants us to love him back. That's also a beautiful thought that we love, but actually loving God is much more difficult. I would almost rather have 10 or 20 or 30 rules, 30 commandments. And I used to think it was the other way around. Like, I used to think that love is so much easier than those Old Testament commandments. Loving God is so much easier than those 10 commandments. But I don't think that now, because I think that it's actually really more difficult to convince your heart to love God than it is to follow the rules of God. I mean, for example, I don't love the speed limit, but I follow it, right? It's harder to love it. Well, sometimes I follow it. But it's harder to love the speed limit, but it doesn't mean I won't follow it. So I think it's like we can obey the laws. I think I'm getting confused in my head, but it's like we can obey the laws of God is actually easier than actually, our heart really wanting to, out of a sense of love. You see where I'm going? I see it in my head very clearly. It's hard to love God. It's hard, and it certainly can't make people love that. If we had 10 or 20 or 30 year olds, we could have that checklist. We could just go down it. Well, today I loved him in this way, and this way. I followed him this way, this way, this way. I went to church. I learned to play the acoustic guitar, all the things that God loves, I learned to, be a Sunday school teacher. I served at the Salvation Army.